Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to grow pygmy sundews. These plants are a type of carnivorous plant, which means they eat small animals to survive, such as insects and stuff. As the name suggests, they're actually really small. This plant here is actually less than a centimeter in width. But the larger ones, like the scorpioides, this one on the back, that's a scorpioides, it's one of the largest you can get. I'd say they can range from like half a centimeter, like a few millimeters, to about an inch. So that's pretty much their size range. But their size actually makes up for it, because in the winter, they make these little buds called gemmae, and each gemmae is basically an exact clone of the plant. And if something touches it, it's literally spring-loaded, and it will explode off the plant 2 meters away. Like, for a plant this size, less than a centimeter, 2 meters is crazy for something to just spring off it. Anyways, and then once they spring off, they can just form little clumps like this, and they can basically cover an entire pot like moss. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, I'm gonna cut some of the flowers off of that Pulchella by Ericksonier. It's a good cross actually, because the flowers can take lots of energy from the plants. So I'm just gonna get some scissors and cut the flowers off, because like they take loads of energy. You want big leaves, and they don't self-pollinate anyways, so they're pretty much useless unless you got another plant flowering at the same time. Anyways, while I cut these, I'm gonna tell you about watering them. So to water these, you want to use distilled rain or reverse osmosis water. That's pretty much the same with all carnivorous plants, because all carnivorous plants like these hate tap water because it has all kinds of nasty minerals like chlorine, fluorine, all that. Just stuff that they don't want. It just burns their roots very slow. And you want to put the water in a tray below the pot so it slowly soaks into the pot, because watering it from the top will like knock some of the dew off and cause some mold and problems like that. So that's pretty much watering out of the way. I use a TDS meter to measure my water quality, so it needs to be under at least 100 parts per million, so that's ppm. You can get TDS meters for a pretty cheap price online. Anyways, so sunlight is another big factor of growing these plants. So most people don't have enough sunlight, so you can grow them in a greenhouse, but they don't really like the cold that much. But they want at least 6 hours of direct sunlight a day. Give them as much as possible. And if you don't have enough sunlight, you can grow them under a grow light. So you can give them like 8 to 12 hours of a nice purple LED grow light. They don't really like the white LEDs. I think it kind of burns them a bit. Use purple instead. That's pretty much light. The more light they get, the more dew they produce, and they just love light, so give them as much light as possible. Also, when you're using a grow light, keep it like 4 to 6 inches away from the plant, because they get burned if you put them right next to the plant. Anyways, eventually when these plants get like too big, you'll need to repot them, and pygmy sundew roots are like really delicate. If you snap a few roots, they're just dead. They're dead in seconds, like pretty much. So do not snap any roots. I usually would squeeze the pot a bit and kind of slide the soil out of it and then just put it in a new pot, because root damage can kill these plants extremely fast. So yeah, they hate being disturbed in the roots. If you're repotting your plants, you want to use a mix of peat moss, perlite, and a bit of silica sand. So like I'd say 50% peat moss, like 30% perlite, and the rest 20% would be like sand. You can use sphagnum moss and sand too, but in my experience that hasn't gone so well, because it kind of causes mold, and the sphagnum moss sometimes comes alive and actually kills the little plants like these ones. So yeah, that's pretty much repotting them out of the way. These plants like nice warm temperatures of at least above 15 degrees. So I'd say 15 to 30 is a good temperature range. And they like any humidity like above 25-ish. I find humidity actually helps them produce dew too. So keep them constantly moist, like in the air. But also don't keep the soil constantly moist when you water them. Let the tray that you're watering dry out for at least like 2 days in between, otherwise it'll cause rot, and you know what I said, the roots are really sensitive and they hate any damage there, so yeah. Obviously, like I said, these plants are carnivorous plants, so you can actually leave them out and they'll catch a few like little midges or flies. They actually get them stuck in the leaves and then they just absorb them, so that's pretty cool. But they'll just catch like flies on their own. If you don't think they're catching enough, you can get a tiny bit of like fish flakes or fish pellets, wet them, and then put them on the leaves, and they'll just soak that up too, because that's pretty much like crushed worms and insects and stuff. So that's also good for them. You can use like liquid fertilizer. I've never actually done that, but I'm pretty sure that's fine. That's feeding. Yeah, but that is actually pretty much all you need to know about growing these plants. They're really, really simple. You can propagate them via the gemme, they'll just spring off the plant. And yeah, they're just really easy to grow. Comment any questions that you might have about these plants in the comments, and I'll probably answer them because I check the comments like every time I make a video. So yeah, bye, I guess.